Picture waking up to the sound of chainsaws on your property. And I mean your land, the deed you own free and clear. Watching a 200-year-old oak tree, older than your great-great-grandfather, crash down while you're still holding a coffee mug. That was my Thursday morning. I'm Garrett Trumbull, and I'd moved to Pine Haven Estates, North Carolina, to escape drama after a brutal divorce. Instead, I got bulldozers at dawn, diesel smoke mixing with pine-scented air, and the crack of ancient timber splitting like bones. The Homeowners Association did this. No notice, no permission, no apology. When I called the HOA president, Shayna, a real estate agent who'd hated me since I refused to repaint my historic shutters, she purred, "Should have read the bylaws, hon." "Oh, and we're suing you for $47,000. Bless your heart. What would you do? Como bilo? Where are you watching from? Drop your state. I want to know if your HOA is this insane." Let me back up 18 months, because you need to understand how I ended up in Shayna's crosshairs. I inherited 8 acres in Pine Haven Estates from my late Uncle Donovan, a Korean War vet who'd lived on that land since 1953. The property sits on an original land patent from 1824, meaning it predates the HOA by 140 years. When developers annexed the surrounding parcels in 1987 and slapped together Pine Haven Estates, Uncle Donovan's place got grandfathered in, technically part of the community. Realistically, it was an island of old-world freedom surrounded by 340 cookie-cutter homes where even your mailbox needs board approval. Uncle Donovan raised me half the summers of my childhood on that land, taught me to fish in the creek, how to identify oak from hickory by the bark, why you never rush a dovetail joint. When he left it to me in his will, it felt like inheriting a heartbeat. I'm a semi-retired civil engineer. Spent 30 years designing roads and bridges, the irony of which is about to become physically painful. And I just crawled out of a divorce that cost me half my retirement and all my tolerance for passive-aggressive communication. I needed peace. I needed dirt under my fingernails instead of courtroom anxiety. So, I moved to North Carolina with 2 rescue dogs. Hank, a one-eyed beagle mix, and Dolly, a pit bull who's terrified of butterflies, and started over. Mornings became sacred. Coffee on the wraparound porch, pine resin smell thick in the July heat, woodpeckers hammering the dead cedar like tiny jackhammers. I planted tomatoes and cucumbers, built Adirondack chairs in my workshop, volunteered at the food bank on Tuesdays, designed a wheelchair ramp for the town library pro bono because that's what you do when you have skills. I kept to myself. Small-town North Carolina respects that. Pull your weight. Don't start fires, and you're golden. Then I met Shayna Kovac. Shayna is 48, a real estate agent who married up twice and now runs the Pine Haven Estates HOA like Marie Antoinette with a gavel. Platinum blonde bob, that costs more than my truck payment. White Mercedes G-Wagon. Vanity plate, HOAP, because subtlety is for renters. She's the type who says, "Bless your heart," before handing you a $500 fine. The board has 7 members. Shayna owns 6 of them. She cited elderly Mr. Cho $500 for an unapproved garden gnome. Not a joke. A ceramic gnome. Meanwhile, her book club friends have inflatable flamingos, and nobody says a word. Her obsession is architectural harmony. Code for everything must look like Pottery Barn threw up on a golf course. My colonial blue shutters, historically accurate to the 1830s and documented by the State Preservation Office, offended her beige and taupe worldview. 6 months in, I got a violation notice. Non-compliant exterior paint remedy within 30 days or face $250 weekly fines. I appealed with historical records, photographs from the 1890s, a letter from preservation experts. The county sided with me. Shayna's smile never cracked, but I watched her knuckles go white around her pen. The fluorescent lights buzzed like dying insects. My palms were slick. "I suppose," she said, voice honey sweet, "some people think rules don't apply to them. That was a shot across the bow. Over the next year, citations for my work truck parked on the street overnight. Nobody else got tagged. A non-regulation bird feeder. My dog's barking once at a UPS truck. I paid the fines, kept my head down, tried to be invisible. Then, 6 months before the Bulldozers, Shayna proposed the Community Connectivity Project, a private road cutting through the back quarter of my land to shave 90 seconds off residents' drives to the golf course. 90 seconds to destroy trees that had survived the Civil War. She held the vote at a meeting I was never notified about. My invitation email mysteriously bounced. Thursday morning, 6:47 a.m. Hank started barking. Not his usual squirrel on the fence bark, but the deep, frantic alarm that means something's wrong. I stumbled to the window in my plaid pajama pants and saw them. 2 bulldozers, a backhoe, and a survey crew in neon yellow vests crawling over my back pasture like ants on a dropped sandwich. I didn't bother with a shirt, just shoved my feet into unlaced boots and ran. The smell hit me first. Diesel exhaust, thick and acrid, mixing with the cool morning dew still clinging to the grass. One of the dozers was already gouging a muddy trench through what used to be wildflower meadow. The other was positioning itself in front of the oldest oak on the property, a giant I'd measured at 6 feet in diameter. Uncle Donovan used to say that tree was already tall when his grandfather was born. Hey, hey, I was shouting, waving my arms like a lunatic. What the hell are you doing? The foreman, named Patch, said Trey, climbed down from the dozer cab, looking annoyed that I existed. He pulled a work order from his clipboard and shoved it at me. HOA authorized construction. Start date today. You got a problem? Call them. I stared at the paper. Official HOA letterhead. Shayna's signature at the bottom, looping and confident. Probably signed while sipping a latte that costs more than Trey's hourly wage. I never signed off on this. This is my property. Trey shrugged. Not my problem, man. I got a contract. You want us to stop? Get the HOA to tell us. I tried calling Shayna's voicemail. Her outgoing message included the phrase, living my best life, which should be a felony. I tried the HOA management company, some outfit called Prestige Community Services that charges $1,200 a year per household to answer phones and ignore complaints. The receptionist put me on hold for 6 minutes of smooth jazz that made me want to commit crimes, then told me, the board president handles special projects directly. You'll need to reach out to Mrs. Kovac. By the time I got off the phone, they'd already cut a 40-foot scar through my land. The dozer at the oak revved its engine. I watched the blade bite into the trunk. The crack sounded like a rifle shot. 217 years of growth. I counted the rings later, sitting on my porch with a whiskey I didn't remember pouring. Gone in 90 seconds. I took photographs, dozens of them. The tire tracks gouging black mud. The splintered stumps. That massive oak lying on its side, root ball torn open like a wound, exposing the pale flesh of severed wood. Then I drove straight to the county clerk's office and pulled every property record I could find. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely hold the pages. No easement, no covenant, no legal right for the HOA to touch 1 inch of my land. I filed a police report. Deputy Ortiz, a good guy, lives 3 streets over Coach's Little League, took my statement and walked the property line with me. He shook his head. This is bad, Garrett. Real bad. But civil, not criminal. You're going to need a restraining order, maybe an injunction. Can't you arrest them for trespassing, destruction of property? I can cite the contractor, sure. But the HOA is going to lawyer up and claim they had authorization under the bylaws. Then it's a judge's problem, he said. Judges hate HOA disputes. You'll be in court for 2 years. He squeezed my shoulder. I'm sorry, man. Get a lawyer today. I emailed Shayna from my truck. Subject line, cease and desist illegal construction. Attached all the photos, copied the entire HOA board. Her reply came back in 4 minutes. Garrett, check bylaw 17.3F. This was approved in accordance with community procedures. I'm sorry you're upset, but the work will continue. See you in court, sweetie. I opened the HOA covenant. 89 pages of legal word sludge designed to make you give up and plant approved shrubs. Found bylaw 17.3F. The board may authorize infrastructure improvements on any parcel where majority community benefit is demonstrated and approved by board vote. Translation: we could do whatever we want if we say it helps the community. Vague enough to drive a bulldozer through. Literally. My lawyer, Stuart, said it was legally questionable at best, which is lawyer speak for you're probably right, but also probably screwed. HOA had deep pockets. They dragged this out until I went broke. Stuart's retainer, $8,000. I just rebuilt my savings after the divorce. And then a week later, I got served at the food bank. While I was ladling soup for people with actual problems, the process server walked up, said my name, handed me the papers in front of 20 volunteers and 40 clients. Shayna was suing me for $47,000, claiming my obstruction delayed the project, costing contractor fees. The room went silent. Humiliation tastes like copper pennies. I walked to my truck wondering how many people had already texted Shayna to tell her they'd witnessed my public shaming. If your HOA threatens legal action, document everything. Photos, emails, certified mail. Courts love paper trails, and sloppy HOAs leave gaps you can exploit. Shayna didn't just want to win in court. She wanted to destroy me socially first. 3 days after I got served, the whisper campaign started. I'd be at the hardware store picking up deck screws, and conversations would stop mid-sentence when I walked down the aisle. At the farmer's market, a woman I'd chatted with every Saturday for a year suddenly became fascinated by her phone screen when I said hello. Then came the Facebook post. Pinehaven Estates has a private community group, 732 members, which is more than actually live here because it includes renters, absentee owners, and apparently every nosy relative within a 50-mile radius. Shayna posted at 9 p.m. on a Sunday, prime social media rage hour. It's heartbreaking when one person's selfishness puts an entire community's safety and property values at risk. The board has worked tirelessly on improvements that benefit all residents. But sadly, some people think rules don't apply to them. Praying for a peaceful resolution. #community first Pinehaven strong. She didn't name me. Didn't have to. The comments rolled in like a sewage flood. Some people move to a community and immediately think they own the place. Her I screamed at the construction workers and threatened them. I didn't. I never raised my voice to anyone except maybe Hank when he tried to eat the entire stick of butter off the counter. My sister's friend said he's been unstable since his divorce. That one landed like a fist to the solar plexus.